I'm sure that Nigerians definitely can see you right now, and and I'm sure they're very interested in what you have to say. In the dailies this morning, it's a lot about what the Northern Elders Forum had to say about the meeting which the Southern governors held in Lagos 2 days ago. Interestingly, this is the second time they're meeting this year, and it will seem it's happened in quick succession. Well, at least from what we can see, if we're to go by previous years. And the response also seems to have been very swift. From what we read in the papers, Northern leaders have been saying that rotational presidency, which is the most important thing, it would seem, that they have taken away from that, I don't know, but that's, it would seem, has been the loudest reaction we have heard. That rotational presidency is unconstitutional. It doesn't mean it is illegal, does it?
No, it isn't. It's a political process that politicians can adopt if they think that is the best, but it's not in the Constitution. I think that is what it means. So it is not legally binding on any party or any group or any part of the country. So to that degree, it is unconstitutional. However, it is not illegal, it is not wrong. What is the problem is the manner in which it is being pursued, this time by people who were elected on the basis of the Constitution, who understand what politics is all about, who understand that politics is about getting up, doing the hard work of convincing people that there is an option that is better than others, and reaching out to the rest of the country rather than sitting there and saying, we want this and we want that. That's wrong. Governors are...
What's wrong about it?
Well, what is wrong about it is, first of all, that it is being done by the wrong people. Governors know how politics takes place. Two, they must know that in the manner they are doing this, not what they are looking for, but the manner in which they are doing it, is likely to cause more problems to them than solve the problem. First of all, you read between the lines. It's very well-crafted communique that says they want basically a Southern presidency. There's nothing wrong with that. That means the North needs to yield the presidency to the southern part of the country. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. But the problematic is to get the North to say, okay, show us why it's better. Show us why a southern presidency is the best for the North and for the rest of Nigeria. This is a democratic country. Citizens vote. Nigerians, irrespective of where they are, have a right to vote for the candidate they want. Political parties have to do the hard work, the lifting. First of all, fielding southern candidates, and then convincing Nigerians from all parts of the country to vote for candidates that come from a particular region. That is what makes this issue particularly sensitive. So if you want a southern presidency, the first thing you do is to make sure that you work within your political party to make sure that a southern candidate emerges. Then you have to go to the rest of Nigeria and say, vote for this man because he's from the south. Now, other people would say, no, I would vote for him if he convinced me that he is actually the best for Nigeria.
It's been a rather thorny issue, this issue of rotational presidency, so much so that the leading party, the very first party which formed government in 1999, the PDP, put it in its own party constitution that there will be a rotational presidency. And somehow, even though it is not in Nigeria's constitution, it has been, maybe because they were the very first one to come immediately we started democracy, it somehow became a gentleman's agreement. So much so that it has even caused problems when even the constitution said you have to hand over in the case that the president is not well, or in the case that the president is indisposed, or, you know, there was a constitutional crisis, that the constitution was not able to be obeyed. And it would seem that somehow this issue of rotational presidency has dogged our politics. when we look at how it has affected our politics and how it is now also affecting issues of divisions in the country, don't you think that a gentleman's agreement, or even putting it, because we're in the process of a constitutional amendment right now, some people have said, let's put it in the Constitution. What are your thoughts around that? Before I go to Mr. Ononuchu.
If it is that significant that Nigerians must live under presidencies that are determined by ethnicity, region, and not on the basis of competence and acceptability, certainly Nigerians can look at it, decide whether it is something that should be in the Constitution. Let me just remind you, unfortunately, the party that spearheaded this rotational presidency subverted this thing on so many occasions themselves, the PDP. In the run-up to 2014, 2015 elections, PDP lost a lot of ground over arguments over whether the presidency, President Jonathan can run or not on the basis of an agreement. They've torn it to shreds, politicians. And now we have a situation where people are saying, bring this presidency here in a manner that gets the other side of the country to dig in and say, no, listen, we have a right to vote for any candidate we want. If a political party feels a northerner, you cannot tell us not to vote for him. You cannot tell all parties to field southern candidates because governors sit for 4 or 5 hours in 5 hours meeting and then say, bring the presidency here. You are creating an ethnic president, a regional president. And other Nigerians have a right to say, we want to see what is the value in this rotational presidency for us.
Mr. Ononuchu, do you see any value in it? Do you agree with him that this is really, I don't want to, you didn't say it was a non-issue, but so far so good. It would seem that what you're saying.
I didn't. It is a big issue, but it's the way we're going about it.
The way that, do you think it was important for the Southern governors to have said this?
Yes. So far in country now, right now, the Southern governors seem to be the only opposition we have. The people actually reacting to the misgovernance of the Buhari administration. If you see, there were quite a lot of things in that. Nigeria runs a representative democracy. That's why Buhari's employment of nepotism removed representation from a lot of people. And that's why you saw these reactions. The reasons for this, Buhari has now sown a lot of things in such a way that they become so ethnically skewed that he has divided the country. The governors believe that the only way to reset the country and bring it to an inclusive strategy is to have the presidency zoned to the south. Don't forget, the PDP in 2014, 2015, the northern governors made the same statement that all parties should zone their presidency to the north. The current frontline protagonists in the PDP today, all of them obeyed the northern governors' instructions, worked, and made sure President Buhari became president. Those same protagonists are the same ones who now are in the PDP, screaming that the presidency should come to the north. And if you look at the way it is, our current crisis in country right now is the Fulani irredentism resurgence. And we believe that President Buhari has failed to be able to address this. By his use of nepotism, he has created monsters like Sunday Igboho, like Nnamdi Kanu, and this seems to be undermining stability in the South and other places. Southerners are not happy to see their young people get so angry as to start requesting secession and separation from Nigeria. No.
It is interesting that you say that the Southern governors are now the only opposition.
Yes, because so far in northern Nigeria, let me help you, let me finish.
No, let me finish my question, yes. Mr. Ononuchu, because the questions will be opposition against who?
Against misrule.
Against, if you say against the
They president, are the only one raising their voice against the sustained ethnic cleansings,
The danger,
the sustained militia actions by the Fulani bandits,
if I may,
and Buhari has done nothing about it.
Mr. Nonoju, if I may finish my question, you have said that they have constituted themselves into an opposition. The question will be, is it against the president?
No.
Is it against the North?
No.
Because then...
There is no.
Because it would seem... Let me land.
The North is actually in agreement.
Mr. Nonoju, you would let me finish my question. Yes. Because it would seem that the reaction that we're getting right now is from the northern elders, or the northerners. I mean, let me finish it. From northern groups. And I think I need to be very categorical about this because even though, yes, they are groups, some people will say that there will be other voices in the North. The question is, which North are we talking about? In the North, when we talk about the North, which North are we specifically speaking to? Because we know that, is it the northern regions in terms of North Central, Northeast, Northwest, or is it just a certain part of the North? I think I'll have to put that question to you much later. But isn't there a danger when we say the Southern governors have constituted themselves into an opposition? There'll be huge questions as to, opposition against who? Because at the end of the day, this does have the potential to further deepen divisions. You don't think so?
There's nothing wrong with divisions deepened if lines are drawn. Now, in the North...
There's nothing wrong with it.
No, that's it. Divisions are beautiful in politics. That's why you have this side and that side. In the North, importantly, 4 or 5 days ago, former governor of Borno, Shetima, Ekanuri, said the presidency should go to the South. The TV Governor Samuel Otom, said the presidency should go to the North. These are very important ethnicities. It is only the Fulani that refuse the presidency to go to the South.
Do you consider Governor...
I'm repeating it now.
Let me land.
It is not the North.
No, let me land.
Good.
Do you consider Governor El Rufai a Fulani governor?
Yes.
He has also said the presidency should go to the South.
That is also what I'm saying. But then, that is what he says. But you see, some Fulani leaders, that's why you see, among the Fulani elite, not all of them agree. Some say, let us, for the sake of the country, allow inclusive Nigerian political experiment. Some of them, who I refer to as the Fulani Redentist movement, refuse. The problem is, some of those people, members of the Redentist movement, refuse to share Nigeria with the rest of us. That is at the heart of this thing. And because Buhari has pandered to the agenda of the Miyetti Allah, that's why those governors said no. They have complained. President, you are not doing anything about the killings by the Fulani militia and the Fulani bandit people. The Miyetti Allah supports them, and you keep quiet. The Sultanahs are the only ones raising voice because some people in the North fear if they raise their voice, people could come after them. And politely look at it, just look at every single resolution in that Lagos declaration. All of them were intelligent targets to actually stop the things that we see that are wrong about the country. If President Buhari has been able to get governors in the North to become docile out of fear, well, he has simply seen that the governors in the South have not been able to get that intimidated. Very simply, this is our country. We elected those governors, we cried to them, and they know what we're saying. Look at the resolution where they said nobody should come to any state to start a security operation without telling the governor. Why? We are now seeing a return of false flag operations across the South by fifth columnists working for the federal government. So the governor said, before you bring these things and you say it is a security maneuver, report to the governor. Report to the governor. Don't come here and do, false flag operations. We would not fall for that. President Buhari is asleep at the wheels. So since there is nobody there, the only people who dictate policy are the elites, who seems to have the control of those machineries of government that we had ever allowed them to. What do you expect? Our governors to keep quiet? Our people be killed? Our mothers cannot go to their farms? Our people cannot actually travel on the roads? The Okene, Auchi Road, you can't pass through it. The Lagos-Ibadan Express Road, you can't pass through it. If the villagers try to arrest and apprehend these Fulani bandits, Presidency will make instruction from the top that they should go away. Look at Owerri. 3 hours, 20 minutes of operation, and there was a stand down instructed. That was why the police and the army did not do that. We don't want such things. So if the president cannot protect us, we don't trust him anymore. We run to our governors, and so far, the governors are speaking. If he sees it as opposition, that is democracy. The beauty about democracy is all of us do not have to agree on the one thing. Since Buhari has abandoned Nigeria, nature abhors vacuum, and that's why the governors are there doing exactly what the people want them to do. If you check right now, there's a lot of rise in approval ratings for how those governors are handling their things. So
you don't think that they're pandering to the people because elections are around the corner?
No. They are rather afraid of the people. You know why? If they don't act, the people will resort to self-help. If they resort to self-help, you can see it. The creation of Sunday Igboho was simply because, and Nnamdi Kanu, was because Buhari refused to protect them. And all that time, we did not see the Fulani elite raise their voice. Today, in the North, the TV they know very well only a certain president can stop this slow-moving civil war.
Let me ask Mr. Baba Ahmed now. I don't know. First and foremost, I'd like to know, when you speak for Northern Elders Forum, do you have the majority of the voices of the North? And then which North will be the key question?
The whole North. We speak for the North. We speak for all Northerners.
When you say the whole North, who's the whole North?
Every Northerner. We speak for the communities in the 19 northern states. Northern Elders Forum, a organization I speak for, is made up of Northerners from all parts of the North. All parts of the North. And when we speak, we don't speak for Fulani or we don't speak for anybody.
Including the North Central?
Yes, absolutely. Our previous convener is a chief man from Benue State. Look, the issue, I'm just shocked, to be honest. I thought at this stage, at this level, we wouldn't be talking about Fulani not raising their voices. Northern Elders Forum has raised its voice longer than anybody and higher than anybody against a lot of the shortcomings of the Buhari administration. We are not lackeys of this administration, and somehow I'm a little bit uncomfortable about being made to look as if we're apologizing for President Buhari. But President Buhari's administration has failed the North, has failed Nigeria in so many areas. And we've criticized him. We've raised our voices and we'll continue to raise our voices. What is wrong is to create the impression that governors who have been in the southern part of the country, who have been opportunistic, and creating the impression that they are now leading an opposition. My brother here says they are the only opposition in this country. That is false. They are not the only opposition in this country. There's a lot of people who are opposed to a lot of the things that are going on in this country. And they are saying so. There's nothing, all this talk about Fulani irredentists, all this talk about Buhari and his Fulani, it just sounds like fiction to me. I'm from the North. In many ways, I'm Fulani. And when I hear educated, supposedly informed people talk about, oh, there's a Fulani agenda, it's irredentism, all these things, to be honest, I feel very uncomfortable. The governors, southern governors, are well informed. They know what's going on. What they want is a shortcut to a southern presidency. And we say, listen, the North is not opposed to having a southern presidency. And I don't see how that has to do with the quest for southern presidency has to do with a lot of the security issues. So you have to ask the question, do we want a southern presidency now so that the North will be further isolated? This is the wrong way to sell a good product. This is not the way to go about it. If you say President Buhari has been nepotistic, President Buhari has created security problems, so give us a southern presidency and give it to us at all cost. We ask the question, so what happens to the North? Are we going to have a southern president who now runs the country as if the North doesn't exist? And do you want the northern voter to actually vote for a southern president? Only on the ground that one or two people from the South says, your person has mismanaged Nigeria, and therefore it's our time to mismanage Nigeria? Shouldn't we worry, for instance, when you hear talk like this, that perhaps this whole thing about the southern presidency is to further create problems for the North? And don't we have a right, for instance?
Do you agree, before you go ahead, do you agree that so far the manner in which the president has run the country has made the South feel isolated? because he's made reference to
everybody
the
is
creation.
isolated under President Buhari's administration. He has run.
Yes,
he has run
perhaps,
an
but
administration.
some people more than others. And for some people, I mean, we have seen secessionist movements even where there was none before now. I mean, look at the start of Sunday Igboho's movement for a Yoruba nation, for instance. Yes, one could argue that, you know, secessionist tendencies and movements have always been there, not under Nnamdi Kanu. I mean, we've seen Masob before, there was Masob before Nnamdi Kanu. So those ones have always been there. However, on the fringes they were. But right now we're seeing that they have taken center stage in the southeast. Proof is the sit-at-home that was ordered at the Biafra Remembrance, which before now used to be ignored, but it was seen that largely in many parts of the southeast it was followed. And then when you look at what is happening in the southwest, which a number of people are still shocked at, we can see what is happening there. The rallies that have happened in the southwest have made some people ask what exactly is going on in the center. So these are the areas where the differences, it would seem, are more pronounced. So would you agree that as a result of what we're seeing, these movements threatening the unity of Nigeria, if we were to remain one, do you think that these sort of conversations are extremely important?
They are, but they should be founded on facts. They should be founded on an understanding that we're still running a democratic system. The failures of the central administration, the federal administration, to deal with security issues, to deal with inclusiveness, to manage our diversity better, is certainly a problem. It's also a problem for the North, to the degree that everybody tends to blame every Northerner, wherever he is, for President Buhari's failings. We have suffered longer and more deeply than anybody else under this administration. We are more insecure, we're poorer, we are more unsure about the future. Our young can't even go to school. People tend to ignore this. And look, if the only option now for the North to get some reprieve after 2023 is that it is going to be stampeded into caging its own rights. Northern voters cannot vote must vote for a southern candidate to atone for what President Buhari has done. That's going to be a very difficult pill to swallow, and they need to know this. We are running a democratic government, and what you're doing is that you're talking about resistance from the southeast under Igboho, and Kanu. What about the northern voter? What if the northern voter decides to resist what appears to be intimidation and blackmail and says, no, I have a right given to me by the Constitution to vote for the candidate I want, and I will vote for a candidate that I want. If you want to settle issues about security and the failures of the president, fine. But when it comes to 2023, if you want me to vote for a southern candidate, please come and convince me how that southern candidate meets my requirement as a leader. But if you do this, you scare me even more. We're already on the ground. We're not afraid to fall down. The point is that the way the campaign is going for Southern presidency, I don't want this issue to be diverted by all this talk about irredentism and all these things. There's no full.
They're real fears. Yeah. And they cannot be dismissed, especially when you look at, what the president has. Even the president had to admit at some point that indeed we've had foreigners invade the country in the name of cattle rearing. We've heard Governor El Rufai, talk about how he tried to settle crisis in his state once, and he found out that the people who were causing the crisis were not from the state, were not even from the country, and he had to go and do some settlement outside of the country. So these fears, especially when they begin to get down south, as far as they're concerned, they rarely differentiate between how people look. This is how they see it. So if the misunderstanding has now been deepened in terms of how the leadership has handled the crisis, don't you think that there needs to be, I don't want to say deeper conversations, but there needs to be an understanding, things that will first of all bring us together before we can talk about who can be the leader? Absolutely.
Look, let me remind you, 17 governors from the South are members of the about 4 or 5 national bodies. They can go there, they can raise issues about security, they can raise issues about inclusiveness, they can raise issues about the economy. They're members of Council of State. They're members of so many. They have access to the president. They have access to virtually all decision-making bodies. They have access to the National Assembly. But when you don't do the work the way you're supposed to do it, and you then jump and hide behind fear and insecurity, and then you start throwing demands, that is not responsible. And what we're witnessing is a drastic failure of leadership at all levels in this country. The southern governors must know, and they know, I'm sure they know, this is not the way to go about solving problems. And so you don't hide behind insecurity and start making political demands. And how does a southern presidency, without dealing with the fundamentals about insecurity, the herders, you said there are foreigners that come into this country. Go back to the ECOWAS, fix the ECOWAS protocol that allows movement of people into this country. Fix it. It should have been fixed last year or the year before. It hasn't been. And the governors know where the problem is.
It will only be fixed if only the leadership sees it as a problem.
I'm not defending the leadership. The point I'm making is that the governors know more than most others that there is something called an ECOWAS protocol. If it makes Nigeria vulnerable, operate at the level where it can be fixed. And it should have been fixed. Open grazing is not an issue for the North. We have made the case that we believe that open grazing should come to an end. However, it requires a national resolution and a national effort to solve it. It's not a northern problem. It's not a Fulani problem.
Do you disagree with him on any of the issues that he's raised? Because he's already said the North is down. The North also feels isolated under President Buhari's leadership.
Yeah, he's right. He's right that a lot of them pretentiously, and the reason why is this. Let me tell you, once the crisis comes to a particular community, if you're not united in opposing it, it stays. So that's why you see the crisis persisted in the Northeast, the Northwest. Once it came to the South and you see this unity among the people in opposing it, it goes away. A lot of people are angry because they know...
Has it gone away?
Oh, well, once we've seen the governors acting this way, we have hope that they are there doing our work. Now, why has it failed in the North? Why has the Fulani bandits ravaged the Northwest? Why have the Boko Haram sustained ravaging of the Northeast? Because there are discordant voices. As he rightly says, those people who abuse the ECOWAS protocol and bring in the Fulani militia, as you heard, those who went to Sunday Igboho's house, were speaking Bambara and French. How could you now include such people in our security network? It is also true, as Buhari has said and he has repeated, that those who come in to do these things, like Erufai have said, speak French, speak Bambara. If right now the current crop of leaders we've seen among the Fulani elite are not able to hold back these are people who come in, we cannot trust them. It's very dangerous. Let the power go elsewhere where somebody can say there is a crisis.
Who are these Fulani elites? Can you break them down?
The elites are those who come to television to speak, to support the behaviors when Governor Otom cries and screams, when the people in Southern Kaduna cry and screams, when the people of Bachama in Newman cry and screams, when there is war in Gembu between the Fulani from Mali and the Kaka and the Pansa, when the TV are crying, when the Yorubas form a Moteku. Why I'm telling you this is, if it is this widespread nationally, and nothing has happened, we will see some of the elite come here and defend it. Some even try going to Obasanjo to ask him to support a strategy to give those people land. And this is where I have been. Yes, it's okay for you to let them come inside. Sorry. But nobody's going to give you land, my dear. I have been saying this on this station for long when this thing started. The right thing for them to have done is to make sure they keep those people in their countries. Bringing them here now, look at how they want to get land in Kaduna, ethnic cleansing. Look at in Plateau, ethnic cleansing. It is moving down south. That's why the governors are together. None of them can be trusted to actually hold these people down. We believe the members of the Redentist movement are far more powerful than the polite members of the Fulani elite.
When you say that there is ethnic cleansing,
when people are removed from their land in Kaduna, then people are removed from their ancestral lands in Riyom, in Barakin Ladia, in Joy South,
in Kaduna was people removed?
Mr. Baba,
in the Adara.
Mr. Baba, if I may, because some people will say that if the crisis that happened in the northeast of the country, where 2 million people are currently in IDP camps, over 35,000 people have lost their lives in that conflict, which is not of their own making. That if such a thing had happened in any other region of this country, that there would have been huge cries of a genocide.
Yes.
But the question is, that's not what is happening there.
That is what is happening. Those people are coming to cry to the Southerners that the Fulanis are killing them, and the Fulani elite are doing nothing. The Fulani president is protecting the people of the Middle Belt. That's why you hear Governor Otto cry every day.
I'm talking
That's
about.
why you hear.
I'm talking about the Boko Haram crisis.
Exactly.
The Boko Haram crisis is not being painted as a Fulani or any other type of crisis.
Because when it started at the beginning, we didn't understand it. But now that we've seen that those who control the Fulani bandit militia, Fulani herdsmen militia, are also the people who control the Boko Haram militia. So we now understand the cascade of violence across the country actually comes from President Buhari's table. Why? If you allow the soldiers, they will stop it. But because they swear their oath to Buhari, they would not dare touch any of those.
They swear their oath to the president.
Yes, instead of the constitution.
Not to Buhari. I mean,
to the president.
Yes.
To President Buhari.
It's very important that is the
President Buhari had refused to be president of Nigeria.
Just a moment, so that we don't misinform Nigerians. It is true that it is the president who signs their commission letters, and it is to the president, I mean, that they owe allegiance because he is the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And I think that it's very important that we differentiate the person from the office of the president.
Very good.
The
president right now is President Muhammadu Buhari. So the service chiefs swear oaths to him instead of swearing to the constitution. And that's why you see...
What does all this have to do with the issue of rotational presidency?
Rotational presidency is what is written in the constitution of the parties. Listen.
No, one party. Be careful. Let's be specific.
Okay,
this is a
you're
national
saying
TV.
the
This
PDP.
is national speak about facts. PDP has a provision that was disputed a number of times that it should rotate presidency. I thought the issue here is, should the presidency go to the South? Because 17 Southern governors have come to say, bring the presidency here. And it's causing an exciting national discussion. What is all this talk about what the Fulani did or didn't do? I'm hearing this tissue of fiction for the first time. I don't know what that Fulani leadership is. The bottom line is, I think we are running away from the issue. We're talking about a major initiative by 17 Southern governors to get the presidency to move to the north, to the south.
Mr. Baba Ahmed, some people will say that indeed it would have been okay for us to say this, that what he has said, could totally be dismissed.
Who has?
What Mr. Ononuju has said could totally be dismissed, but the circumstances, the environment in which we operate, the environment in which this has been said cannot be dismissed.
Yeah.
I mean, as we pointed out again, and I'm at pains to point it out again, the secessionist movements, which have started and gained undue momentum, it would seem, are some of the pointers to how the South, some people in the South are feeling. Because, I mean, as I think I heard the Commissioner of Police in Lagos say that if there's no general, if there are no people behind the general is in front and he has no followership.
He'll be no one.
Exactly, he'll be no one. But these people, it will seem, are gaining momentum. They have a following, and their followership seems to be growing. In recent times, when Sunday Igboho was arrested, I do not know if you saw the cadre, the caliber of people who spoke up against the arrest, at least the manner in which it was done. These are people who ordinarily you would think would condemn his activities in the very first instance, but there are people who have spoken up for him. Doesn't it raise huge questions in your mind as to how deep the divisions are running?
There are divisions.
And how isolated people are beginning to feel?
There are divisions that we feel are dangerous for the country. They represent existential threats to the future of this country. We believe that there are reasons why a lot of the escalation of irredentist talk, we recognize that. The issue here, however, is, doesn't that suggest that what we ought to do as a nation is to work to bring an end to the presidency of President Buhari in 2023 and put a leadership that will rebuild this country, rebuild trust between the communities.
But there are people who have felt that as a result of his presidency, that the North has benefited unduly. There are people who feel that way. And there are people, I mean, look at what is happening with the PIB.
I would ask them,
and how this has been
people,
reduced
I would ask those people to show me the evidence. They haven't been to the North. They sit in Abuja or maybe they sit in Lagos and they make all these assumptions about Fulani redentists and how could the North have benefited under the presidency? Yesterday, from my state, in a school, 100 and something children were kidnapped. Virtually every single day, families are kidnapped. Children can't go to school. This is not just the North. Virtually Kaduna. This is virtually the whole North.
You do know that politics. You don't know that politics of ethnicity has dogged this country for as long as we can remember.
I understand the politics of ethnicity.
Yes.
The solution to an administration that you say, and I agree to you up to a certain extent, we've mismanaged diversity. We have not created a nation that we should look at a national problem rather than a sectional problem. And I think we should deal with that. But for me, the solution really is that we should put in a leadership that will do exactly the opposite of what President Buhari is doing. Inclusiveness is important. An assertive, a very strong administration against all forms of threats, including irredentive threats, should be dealt with. Grievances of communities must be addressed. You must put a government that listens, a government that is representative, a government that recognizes threats and deals with them and doesn't just ignore them and allow them to grow. That's really what it is. But to blame the North for the failure of President Buhari is unacceptable. We would not do that. We would not even accept the argument that in any way the North has benefited under President Buhari. And therefore,
what about the Northern elites? Have they benefited under President Buhari?
Where is the Northern elite?
Would you agree that the President, that the Northern elite... Can you give me a
definition of your...
Do you agree that we have elites?
We do have elites.
Do they
Are you
benefit?
talking about the people in the government of President Buhari, the ministers?
Indeed.
They are not elite.
They will be included.
Yes, but those are not elite. They would be, these are people who work with President Buhari. If you define the Northern elite entirely
I just said that they will be included. I did not say that they will constitute the bulk. I mean, there'll be people who will receive patronage as a result of him being, and we know that we run a system based on rent and patronage.
You can count those people, it's possible.
Yes.
It's possible. You can count those people on your fingertips, the people who run the government, and therefore get some benefit. I don't know who they are. I would define myself and my organization as part of the Northern elite. And we've been in the vanguard of keeping this administration on its toes. We have demanded farmer action against crime. We've demanded farmer action against irredentism. We have demanded improvements in administration. We have paid a huge price in the North under the Buhari presidency. I have said this so many times. People turn around and say, okay, the North, there is a grand scheme under the Fulani, and therefore you guys are making...
So let me quickly ask Mr. Adonuju, do you agree that the Northern Elders Forum, and I'm very specific about this, the Northern Elders Forum has earned the right to say, look, we don't know what it is that this is about. We should make this democratic. Because if there's anybody that has spoken up against this presidency, we have as Northern Elders Forum. Do you agree with them?
Yes. The Northern Elders Forum has every right to organize. But what I will remind you of, it's we in the South see the Northern Elders Forum as another group, who just speak. What the governor said carry weight. What the governor said we will implement. It's real. It's not going to come. Look at the PIB bill.
Just before we get to the PIB, I understand my colleagues have questions from Lagos. Gentlemen.
Well, let me begin by asking Mr. Ononuju just one question. It would seem from all the conversation we have, and I think Mokwe referenced it earlier, and that is the fact that the us and them thing is quite strong. The question of ethnicity, the North against the South and all of that. Don't you think that's, really reducing the issues as opposed to us coming together and speaking Nigeria and not just Northern Nigeria or Southern Nigeria? How do you see us mending fences?
I thank you for that question. What President Buhari and the Fulani elites, who are members of the Redentist movement, have done is simply to force us to abandon what you're suggesting for us coming together as people of one country. Because the way they have gone on, look at the cleansings, look at the quest for land, it divides us. Look at the nepotism, the way it was weaponized to give only one section of the family in every house where a father has 10 children, and he starts treating only 2 of those children in an exceptionally nice way, and others are ignored. You know, naturally, the remaining 8 will band together against those 2, who are the metaphors for their suffering. This is what's going on. So it seems we consciously, honestly do have a Fulani problem. Let's not deny it. If we don't solve that Fulani problem, as you've heard, some people come from outside the country, and the ones inside have only just breached the presidency and gotten Buhari to allow them. If you see even in the PDP and the APC, there are these people of the Redentist movement who encourage these foreigners who come in and kill, foreigners who now must cleanse to take land. Look at people living in IDP campus, and foreigners are living in their villages. So the only way to solve it is to go back to that cause of it. It is the ethnic championing of an ethnic agenda by President Buhari. What you're now seeing is the entire ethnicity. That's why you're seeing some groups called IPON, you know, Independent People of Nigeria, Indigenous People of Nigeria. The indigenous people have no value. The indigenous people have no right when compared to Fulanis from Mali, Central African Republic, and we now thought the only way to solve this issue is to find an indigenous person, probably from the south, since indigenous people in the north are crying and saying that they are being killed. That's why you're seeing the governor of Benue State supporting the southern governors. That's why you even see those from Borno supporting the southern governors.
Well, Mr. Anajuji, clearly
what's going on in the north is totally unacceptable.
You know, clearly this topic about, you know, zoning presidency to the south has behind it, or inside of it, a lot of subtopics, and it's understandable because all these things culminate to whatever decision you see across the region. But let me take this back to Mr. Baba Ahmed and just get his response to this statement that was made in the build-up to the 2015 elections by Professor Ango Abdullahi. And he was speaking for the Northern Elders Forum, and he said specifically that this forum, referring to the NEF, is agitating for a candidate from the North. Now, I'm reading this word for word, and no party has fulfilled such condition except the APC. And he went on to say, in view of this, Northern Elders Forum will not support the PDP in the forthcoming elections, basically saying we are going for a candidate from the North. You referenced that it should be done based on democracy, since we operate a democracy. So the question is, what has changed between then and now? Then you thought it was good to zone the presidency to the North, and you said you were going to support a candidate from the North, but now you seem not to want that kind of arrangement. What changed?
I think you need to put a date to that statement. You're referring to the period during the skirmishes around whether President Jonathan should continue to run or not. Am I correct?
15 elections, I did.
Because you see, this issue about Northern Presidency and Southern Presidency has a long, long history. The bottom line is that the one party, identified rotational presidency as a priority and put it in its constitution. The same party has abused this provision so often in such a way that even its own politicians don't have any respect for it. Now, so now you have a case being made by 17 governors from the southern part of the country. The case has been made earlier on by socio-cultural groups, Afenifere, Pandev, Ohanize. Other people have said, bring it to the south. The North has no problem with anybody making a case for the presidency going to the South. We've said this over and over again. I don't know why it's difficult for some people to do that. What we say is find a good way to convince every Northerner and every Nigerian, unless you consider Northerners' votes expendable, in which case you just simply say, Northerners line up, you produce a President Buhari, who hasn't done well. We have issues that with Northern leadership, and therefore you must bring the leadership to the South this time, and then all problems will be solved. Now that's the kind of fiction that is strange. Other parties will not field a Southerner. So what happens? What if a party fields a Northerner, another party fields a Southerner? Northern voters exercise their rights the same way the Southern voters will exercise their right. They vote. Some people vote for a Northerner. Some people vote for a Southerner. What happens if a Northern president wins the election and emerges president? What happens? Do we have a situation where people say, no, it's not acceptable? This is fundamentally a democratic process. So the point I'm making is simple. Politicians who are interested in getting a Southern presidency should do the hard work of convincing Nigerians. Don't just sit there and throw demands and ultimatums and even threats about what would happen if we don't have a Southern presidency.
Don't you think that it will make the work of the Northern president even more difficult? Assuming that could happen, I mean, first and foremost, people will say that the way the Constitution is structured and the way it demands that a president emerge at least 2/3, he must get 25% vote in at least 2/3 of the country. If that is the situation, it means that it's going to be almost impossible for any president to emerge on either side of the North or the South without the support of one or the other.
It's a good thing.
Which is a good thing. However, if that eventually happens and a Northern president is thrown up, don't you think that it further risks isolating the South or people in the South and gives them a bigger job in terms of having to unite the country? You don't think so?
I think that it's only if we read the kind of language that comes from my brother here, that every northerner is likely just simply to deepen, to borrow his words, Fulani, irredentism, Fulani this, Fulani that. This is not what the North wants and what Nigerians want is a leader that will be a Nigerian leader, not an ethnic leader, not a regional leader, an honest, hardworking, visionary Nigerian who can actually heal this country.
That's what
where he comes from
yes.
is secondary. Now, if he's a Southerner and he gets the votes of both the North and the South, we would live very happily and support him. We've done this. Let me say this.
Dr. Ahmed, you know
we
why
have done
I smile?
this before. People tend to think that the North doesn't think. We've supported, we created we supported Abiola to emerge, to come close to a president. We voted for President Obasanjo twice. We voted for Jonathan against a Northern candidate. Okay? So it's not strange for Northerners to vote for non-Northerners.
You voted for Jonathan against a Northern candidate in what year? In 2011?
Jonathan won his election in
2011, yes.
Remember?
And you saw just how big a controversy.
Yes.
First and foremost, when I asked you which North you speak for, you say you speak for all of the North.
Yes.
And there'll be huge questions on that, because people will ask how the Northern Elders Forum was able to get the mandate of the whole of the North to be able to speak for them. There is a presumption.
Nobody gives groups mandates.
That's one. And then there,
Feni doesn't have the mandate of every Yoruba person.
There's another group, I mean, in the North, the Arewa Consultative Forum, which is another very prominent group.
Yes.
We haven't heard them speak yet. We've had the Arewa Youth Forum speak. They have had their own voices heard. But there will be huge questions as to whether or not this will be carried by groups in the North, and there are many groups in the North.
Sure.
But
we know people listen to us. That's good enough for us.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you.
People listen to everybody.
Yeah, but I'm not going to tell you.
Agreeing is another kettle of fish.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you that.
So when you say that where a president that can unite the country is very important, and where he comes from is secondary, some people will say no, that it's the other way around. That a lot of people will be looking to where, support is going to be coming from for the next president. There will be huge questions as to whether or not the North thinks that unity and carrying people along is important enough. I mean, unity of this country is more important. I don't want to say it's more important than competency, but those sentiments are strong enough that it will seem that no matter what you do,
Doesn't that reinforce the argument
Yes.
that there must be a democratically elected person, transparently and sincerely and openly? He must be elected first and foremost. Nigerians must recognize that that person, wherever he comes from, was elected. No dispute about that. He was elected because more Nigerians feel safe and secure and comfortable with him than anybody else, than any other candidate. And therefore, the elections Nigerians must be allowed to exercise their constitutional rights to elect a president.
If we were to put side by side unity and security, because they're two different things. Unity and security.
No, they're not. Lack of unity creates problems for security.
It does.
This is what we're dealing with.
So one affects the other. But I'm trying to say that if we were to prioritize, because security is about how safe I feel.
Sure.
Unity is whether or not I feel a part of the country. I could be safe, but I might not feel a part of this country.
Sure.
So if we were to prioritize unity or security, which do you think takes precedence?
I would say unite the country, but you don't just unite the country in abstract terms. You must give every Nigerian a sense of belonging. And the way you do that is you run a government that is inclusive, that pays attention to the peculiarities of sections, that brings in all Nigerians into the process of governance, and that is available to all groups. That's how you do that. So you reinforce unity and you give security. All this irredentism you're saying is substantially because people feel substantially marginalized. They feel they are not part of this administration. They haven't been part of this administration, and therefore they want out. The way to do this is to fix the leadership of the country. This time, elect somebody who would not behave like President Buhari runs his administration. That will substantially address both the security issues and the national unity issues.
In conclusion, and I'm going to take your closing comments, right? So perhaps I should take yours first. How do you see this conversation being resolved? Mr. Babared has said that the governors belong to, I don't see national groups.
They do.
Different national groups that have authority, to do something about this. How do you see this conversation being resolved, especially now that we see that the southern governors don't belong to one political party. They all belong to different political parties. How do you think that this impasse, because it looks like this is what it's going to be at the end of the day, how do you see it being resolved?
It will be resolved through natural selection. Why do I say natural selection? Buhari and those who aid him in both the PDP and the APC have closed all avenues for discussion. You can hear what he's saying. If he walked to bring Buhari in, and after 8 years Buhari has ruled, he's telling me again, my brother is telling me we should allow him to also bring another of his brother in. How do
I'm not
others
telling
feel?
you that. Come on.
But that's
I'm
what
not
you're
telling
saying.
you that.
Why then contest what our people? You have taken your 8 years. You worked under Buhari. You came in with Buhari. And then whether Buhari disappointed you later on or not, that's not my business. Our people are now saying it is our turn, giving instruction to all our people. We gave these people 8 years. From now on, no matter the party you're in, no matter where you're talking about, make sure the thing returns here since they've taken their own 8 years, so that we'll be able to address this pertinent national security crisis. For a security crisis to be so difficult that people are now united despite their parties, despite their ethnicities, tells you that they see a lot that they don't want to speak anyhow openly, because if they do, somebody from the top.
So
will give instruction for them
let me quickly say this. That
approach.
it means that you elevate competence. You would elevate where the person is from over competence.
No, I elevate security. I must be alive first before you tell me what
And you
we're
don't
doing.
think that a northerner, if he comes in again, can give you the security which
No,
you
no,
desire?
no. No northerner today can be able to reset the fraud that Buhari has perpetrated.
Just for being a northerner.
No, because they do not have. Listen, and you
They don't know that?
No northerner today has that capacity
Really?
to face the Fulani Redentist movement. Take this from me.
No,
And that's why you see the whole of the country as
Mr.
is
Ononuju,
afraid.
we have to go now. I have to quickly take your own 30 seconds closing comments. How do you think this crisis, this impasse is going to be resolved?
I think it will be resolved, you know. I honestly think it will be resolved. I think the governors and key people in the southern part of the country recognize the fact that if there's going to be a future in this country, it's not going to be resolved in the way it is being done, with threats and with talk like from my brother here. That's not the way it's going to be resolved. Politicians need to get together and decide what is the best way forward. All these problems you see is because they're not doing their jobs properly. The governors are politicians too. In their parties, the governors are extremely powerful people. When you see them doing this kind of thing, it's a lazy and very dangerous way of playing politics. It should stop. They need to work as politicians and have the idea that this country must survive. Particularly the nature of leadership that emerges in 2023 is central to whether Nigeria survives or not. And it must not be regionalized, it must not be ethnicized, and it must not be made a subject of further division. If you cage a part of the country to create, I understand, if you cage a part of the country so that another part of the country governs the country because everybody else is condemned, that is not a good foundation for the future.
It's a fine place to leave it. We have to thank you both for coming on Sunrise Daily. Hakim Baba Ahmed is the Director of Publicity and Advocacy, Northern Elders Forum, and Mr. Kachi Ononuju is an economist. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we'll leave you for this segment. We'll take a break now. We'll come back shortly. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. Well, yes, we do have Professor Babagana Zulum, Governor of Borno State and Chairman of Northeast Governors Forum, joining us this morning. Good morning, Your Excellency. Thank you for joining us today on the program.
Morning, and thank you very much.
Okay, well, yes, you just concluded the Northeast Governors meeting, and the communique did speak on some of the, or at least the issues that the forum addressed yesterday. But then the initial parts focused on security, referencing how there are general improvements in security. So could you tell us, what are the indicators that the forum saw to warrant you saying, well, there is general improvement in security in the region?
It's cutting. I can't hear you. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, it is right that the security situation in the Northeast sub-region is getting better. The indices are as follows. Within the last 2 to 3 months, incidences of attacks have drastically reduced in Borno State. Secondly, unlike before, the military are now offensive to a larger extent. The insurgents have attacked many communities, and the military were able to attack such repels. Most importantly, the issue of reconstruction, rehabilitation, and settlement is very important, because you have seen government of Borno State have started resettling back people to their communities. This is an indication that there is an emerging peace in the region. Another most important thing is also the issue of repatriation of Nigerians that are living in the Republic of Cameroon as well as in the Republic of Niger. A few months ago, government of Borno State as well as the federal government has embarked upon repatriation of our citizens in Minawa camp. Why? Because there is gradual return of peace to the region. And I think these are very important reasons why we said peace has started returning to the sub-region gradually. People have started returning to their farmlands, areas that have not been cultivated for the last 6, 7 years. People have started cultivating it. People have gone up into the hinterlands, especially in the shores of the Lake Chad, to start farming. So I think this is something that we need to praise the federal government, and then we need to praise the leadership of the Nigerian army and ensure that sustainability is maintained. Thank you very much.
Okay, so do you think that few months is sufficient to come to that kind of conclusion, given the nature of this war? Or is it largely about, we also need to encourage the security agencies, because you did speak about the importance of sustaining this. So we don't know if you've seen enough on ground to justify or to encourage you saying these actions appear that they will be sustained.
Thank you very much. People should take note that issue of security should not be politicized. That is something which is very important. As I've rightly pointed out, there is a need for us to sustain the momentum. Whether we like it or not, the Nigerian military has to be well equipped. That is one. Whether we like it or not, the numerical strength of the Nigerian military is lean. And therefore, this peace that we are having it now has to be looked into again. If we want to sustain it, I think this is the time that the Nigerian army should gear up towards sustaining the recent gains. Otherwise, the entire phenomenon should be wasted. Why I'm saying that is that right now we have some problems in the shores of the Lake Chad. We have some problems in the Sambisa Game Reserve, as well as in the Mandara Hill. So the Nigerian army should not relax by this our statement that there is peace in Borno State. There is peace in the Northeast sub-region. What we are saying is truth. Yes, we have started witnessing gradual return of peace into the sub-region, but that does not mean that the problem is over. They have to work hard in ensuring that the remnants of the insurgents are cleared in the shores of the Lake Chad, are cleared in the Sambisa Game Reserve, as well as in the Mandara Hill.
Well, beyond the intervention of the military, Your Excellency, what else needs to be done to sustain that momentum? I remember on 2 different occasions, 2 governors in the north, Governor El Rufai and Governor Masari of Katsina State, both of them said that they had a challenge of a recurrence, a resurgence of insecurity in the region, because they couldn't sustain the momentum in terms of the contributions that the governors were supposed to be making to ensure that they all sustained the momentum of security that they had secured. That's what happened according to the 2 governors in the Northwest. In the Northeast, what else can be done beyond the intervention of the military that you have talked about? What else can the governors do on their own to ensure that this momentum is sustained?
This statement is very important. We have to address the socio-political and economic dimension of this crisis, which is very important, because there is increasing poverty in the sub-region. That is something that will trigger insurgency. There is increasing food insecurity in the sub-region, because food insecurity is the worst form of insecurity. And that is why the Borno State government, under my distinguished leadership, has been advocating for farming for the last 2 years. Farmers should be allowed to go to their farmlands. The Nigerian military should create the enabling environment for farmers to go to their farmlands so that they can cultivate their lands. It is no more sustainable for our internally displaced persons living in both IDP camps and in the host communities to receive food and non-food items from donor partners. People must earn their means of livelihood if we want to ensure that this insurgency comes to an end. And I think mistake has been done before, whether we like it or not. We accumulated huge number of people in the IDP camps, which is not right. There is increasing prostitution in the IDP camps. There is increasing drug abuse in the IDP camp. There is increasing procreation in the IDP camps. And therefore, the best alternative that we shall do is that government should create the enabling environment that will ensure reconstruction and resettlement of IDPs to their into their communities in a dignified manner. That is something very important. The second most important thing is the issue of mercenaries. I've said it many times. The current capability of the Nigerian army is not enough to sustain the military operation in the Northeast. They are doing their best, but I think they are yet to get all the equipment needed to fight the war. What we are saying is that in the interim, they should seek for coalition. In the interim, they should seek for external support. That means they should call it mercenaries, or they should engage with their neighbors to ensure that they form coalition to fight the insurgents. Because right now, some of the insurgents are coming out in other parts of the country. And the Nigerian army doesn't have all the requirements to fight the insurgents right now. And they are suffering. We are losing many army officers, men and officers in the Nigerian army. And therefore, there's nothing wrong for the Nigerian army to hit into our own advice of inviting mercenaries, forming a coalition with their neighbors to ensure the remnants of the insurgents are cleared, fending when they should get all their requirements to face the insurgents. There's something very important. But unfortunately, they don't listen. Until the whole phenomenon will consume all of us. I've been saying this one for the last 4 years, since when I was a commissioner. If this thing was done before, honestly speaking, we couldn't have seen the problem of insurgency in the Northwest as well as in North Central. And you have seen now that's even affected some regions in the Southwest as well as the South, and Southeast. The issue of addressing the socio-political and economic dimension of this crisis is also very important. Addressing the issues of farmers' herders is also very important. Ensure that enabling environment has been created to the herders is very important. This issue of stopping open grazing and others will not work unless if we sit down and address all these issues squarely.
I mean, like you said, you've been consistent with this issue of raising or engaging mercenaries time and again. And I recall the Minister of Defense really saying, well, we're not going to do that. But I want to believe that beyond raising this, I mean, in conversations with, journalists like us, you probably have raised this at the highest level with the president. And I believe reasons were given to you as to why this is not feasible or this will not be done now. But it appears as though those reasons might not be, sound enough for you. What reasons have been given regarding Nigeria's reluctance in engaging mercenaries to prosecute this war?
I have had a series of consultations with Mr. President. He has never told me that he will not engage mercenaries, but it seems the federal government as well as the Nigerian army have developed a lukewarm attitude towards bringing the mercenaries. They have developed a cold feet. So I think one of the reasons is cost. And then the second reason, to the best of my knowledge, I think the Nigerian army felt that Nigeria is big enough. No, the Nigerian army of last 30 years, of last 40 years, is better than the Nigerian army of nowadays. It's sad. It's very sad. We're supposed to have gone far in terms of development. But you look at the equipment that we have in the last 40 years are still in existence. Yes, Mr. President has procured some equipment. The equipments are coming. But when will they arrive? That's a serious thing that they should look into it. Because we need to address this issue immediately. Otherwise, the issue will consume the greater part of the nation. But I think I've seen Mr. President has invited member nations of the Lake Chad Basin Commission. He has interfaced with the President of Niger, President of Chad, and other presidents in the region. This will go a long way in solving the issues. To the best of my knowledge, although I'm not privy to some of our discussions, but I think the President is looking forward to seeing the issue of the insecurity being addressed at the regional level, which is very important. You can't address the issue of insecurity in Borno State without interfacing with the government of Niger, with the government of Cameroon, as well as the government of Chad. They are very important. Because what about the waterways? Which is also very important. So we need to coalesce, we need to put heads together and then say the right thing. The most important thing is that people don't say the right thing. I'm in the sub-region. Yes, sometimes the Nigerian army are not even, they don't have even enough ammunition. Yes. You can see what the outcome of our discussion resolutions at the Northeast Governors Forum. We categorically stated that fees has started returning to the Northeast gradually. We appreciated the effort of the federal government. But again, we must say the right thing. The gaps are eminent. The Nigerian army, do they have enough vehicles? No. Do they have enough ammunition? No. Do they have enough air guns? No. Do they have helicopters enough? No. Do they have enough strength, numerical strength? No. But they are doing their best. But again, we have to say the right thing. The issue of funding, I think the nexus between peace, security, and development need not to be overemphasized. You cannot just say we don't have funding. This is never feasible. And we thank God Mr. President has sent a supplementary budget of about 800 billion naira to the National Assembly. This budget, I think, most of the funding is going into the Nigerian military. This is good. I see no reason why, if we are providing support for social investment of over 800 billion naira, and then we are saying that we don't have money to procure arms. Security is very important. We have to prioritize our demands. We have to prioritize our objectives. We have to place security as number one priority. We have to address security as number one. We can see some of monies are going into many MDS. And I believe most of this money are going into the tortuous, bureaucratic melting pots of the ministerial systems. Why not security? Security is essential. And therefore, you construct road. If there's no security, nobody will fly. You decided to put internally displaced persons by giving them 20,000, 30,000 naira. This is not important. Create an enabling environment that they can be on their own. How? Provide security in such a way that people will move freely on our highways.
Yeah, so
provide security in such a way that farmers can engage in their normal farming activities. This is very key. Provide security that will enhance trans-border trading. This is very important. Ensure that each and every person in Nigeria will move freely. And so then people will earn their means of livelihood.
All right, but Your Excellency, are you suggesting that there are some politicians, including some persons in the army, who are not telling the president the truth about the current situation, and as such, perhaps that's why this is festering to their own benefit?
I believe so. But I'm sure that the current crop of military are telling the right thing, because I have the privilege to go through some of their requirements. But people should also take note that the financial situation in Nigeria now is not as good as before. But most importantly, many people are benefiting from this crisis, whether we like it or not. We have some people within the political class, within the Nigerian army, as well as within the government, that don't want to see the end of this crisis. This is a pact. If not, how can we fight a war in the Northeast for the last 11 years? Nigeria has all what it takes to end this insurgency. But you have to get all things right. Look at our budget in 2019 or 2020, the budget, the defense budget. 90% of the budget goes into recurrent expenditures. That means, well, yes. And then on the issue of the acquiring equipment, right type of equipment sometimes are not procured. The Boko Haram insurgents are using what type of equipment? They are using AA guns, they are using AA ammunition, they are using AK-47, they are using Buffalo vehicles. These are what they are using. This equipment can easily be obtained anywhere in the world. Armored personnel carriers are available in South Africa. Armored personnel carriers are available in Turkey. Even Propose Nigeria, to some certain extent, they can do something for us. But unfortunately, whether we like it or not, things are not moving well. Again, the Nigerian police are not well equipped. I'm in Borno State. We have about 27 local government areas in Borno State. I don't think the Nigerian police can boast of having 100 serviceable vehicles. How can we achieve? The internal security mechanism is very important. The Nigerian army is overwhelmed, and therefore the Nigerian police has to be well equipped, has to be well kitted for them to take charge of the internal security, while the Nigerian army should be allowed to take over the security, the peripheral security in our states, in our own states.
Really to raise, Governor, but looking through the communique that was released after that meeting, especially coming right after the Southern governors met and, gave their position on the 2023 presidency, saying that, well, it should come from the Southern region. There were some people perhaps expecting to see something in your communique in reference to that, or at least speaking regarding that. But I'd like to find out, haven't heard the position of the Southern governors. For the Northeast governors, what is your position regarding that position of the Southern governors that the presidency should come from the South in 2023?
I'm fortunate that people are unnecessarily overheating the polity. Politics is a game of numbers. Politics is about persuasion. This is very important. But I think you have heard me before. I did a lecture in Lagos as well as in Abuja. I said it time without numbers that I'm of the view that the presidency should shift to the South in the year 2023. This is my position. But there's one statement that I don't like it. A statement that was made by the Nigerian governor, the Southern Governors Forum. They said the president must go to Southern Nigeria. Must. Are we not in a democracy era?
Governor Zulum, the term that was used is should.
I'm of the view that
if you can hear me, the operating term that was used there, pardon me, was should. The governor should come from the southern
Can you please
part
allow
of the,
me to say something?
Region. Please go ahead.
I have said it time without numbers that I, Professor Babagana Umara, I'm of the view that the presidency should go for the South in the year 2023. Because the unity of our country is very important, one. Secondly, inclusivity is very important. Thirdly, I'm in the APC. The last 6 or 7 years ago, APC has zoned the presidency to southern Nigeria, to northern Nigeria, based on the agreement that in the year 2023, the president will go to the south. I'm a Muslim. And then there is a need for me to say the right thing. And that is the right time that the northern governors, that the APC should zone the presidency to the south. I'm speaking about APC. But again, this is politics. We're supposed to meet and then discuss these issues among ourselves, among the political class. This statement that people are saying that the president must go to the south, I want them to remove the word must. The president should go to the south. They are right. They are agitating for their right, as far as I'm concerned, especially the APC governors. This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that what they said is wrong, but there's no need for them to overheat the polity. So there's no need for us to discuss this issue in the Northeast Governors Forum because the forum is non-partisan. The forum is non-partisan. And I said it over and again. Even if you zone the president to South-South, the most important thing is that how can we put heads together to ensure that the politicians, that the voters will vote for the southern people of the southern Nigeria. Because at the end of the exercise, whether we like it or not, the majority carries the vote. But as far as I'm concerned, I supported the idea that the presidency should go to the south in the year 2023. And I said it before that I'm not interested to become the vice president of the country, neither the president of the nation. But I want to say the right thing. Look at what is happening in the country. And I don't want people to blame Mr. President always. What about we, the governors? We have to holistically look at the entire problem of the nation. Corruption is very high, extremely high. So you cannot push blame on one single person. Let us sit down and address the issue of insecurity in the nation holistically, rather than say, Mr. Buhari, Mr. Buhari. We have to put heads together and address the issue of corruption squarely, which is very important. Yes, marginalization. When we are speaking about marginalization at the national level, what about marginalization at the state level? We have to address all these issues and come up with an amicable solution that will ensure that our country will be in unison, which is very important. Thank you very much.
Well, Your Excellency, it's a fine place to live in, but clearly, I mean, there are several issues we need to talk about, solutions above all else, because the country will have to pull together and see that the country works. But I guess we'll have to get across to you much later, such that we could explore and then highlight solutions to moving the country forward. But we do thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, so there you have it. Professor Babagana Zulum, Governor of Borno State and Chairman of the Northeast Governors Forum. We have some mails, don't we? Oh,
we have some mails, but not some time.
Okay, well, apologies. We'll take your mails the next time out. So we thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
I'm Kayode Okikulu.
I am Ayo Makine. Have a great day.
Well, just before we go, some public announcement, though. There is heavy traffic on the Long Bridge inward Lagos. That is in your zone. Tails back as far as Mowe, caused by an accident between two articulated vehicles at the Opik end of the expressway just before Kara. So if you're in Lagos or you're planning to go into Lagos, this is a situation of traffic at this point. And for those of us in Abuja, there's been some announcement. I got this on my phone this morning, and it was a generic message that an anti-terrorism simulation by the armed forces will hold at the National Stadium and Abuja Metro Station today, the 7th of July. So they're asking us not to panic and to avoid the area around the National Stadium and the Abuja Metro Station. Thank you so much for watching this morning. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Do you